You're 8 years old, barefoot on cold marble floors, when the iron shackles first bite into your wrists. The slave trader's breath reeks of sour wine and rotting fish as he examines your teeth like your livestock at market. Your mother's screams echo from the ship's hull below, but you'll never see her again. Welcome to your new life. You've just been sold into Roman slavery, and your childhood just died in chains. Yesterday, you were running through olive groves, chasing grasshoppers while your father tended sheep on the hillsides of Gaul. This morning, you wake up in a cage that smells of human waste and despair, surrounded by dozens of other terrified children who speak languages you don't recognize. The Roman soldiers who destroyed your village laugh as they brand fresh slaves with hot iron, marking ownership like cattle. The searing pain shoots through your shoulder as the letter M burns into your flesh. Property of Marcus Aurelius Maximus. That's your new identity. The journey to Rome takes 3 weeks in the belly of a slave ship. Cramped between bodies that haven't seen sunlight in days, you learn your first Latin words. From the crack of whips, silentium means shut up. Celerius means move faster. And mors means death, which whispers constantly in the fetid air around you. Children younger than you don't survive the crossing. Their small bodies get tossed overboard like garbage while you watch through the wooden slats, wondering if you'll be next. Rome rises from the horizon like a monster made of stone and marble. The Colosseum looms over the city like a giant's mouth, hungry for blood and spectacle. Your ship docks at the port of Ostia, where the stench of the slave markets mingles with exotic spices and fresh bread that you'll never taste. The contrast hits you like a slap. Free Romans in pristine togas feast on roasted peacock, while you huddle naked in chains, waiting to be sold to the highest bidder. The auction block feels like standing on your own grave. Potential buyers circle you like vultures, poking at your muscles, checking your teeth, discussing your breeding potential, as if you can't understand their words. A wealthy patrician woman with painted lips and gold jewelry draped around her neck like armor examines you with the enthusiasm of someone selecting fruit at market. Her fingers are soft as silk when she lifts your chin, but her eyes are colder than winter stone. She nods to the auctioneer. Sold for 50 denarii. Your entire existence reduced to pocket change for someone who spends more on a single dinner party. Your new home is a sprawling villa on the Palatine Hill, where marble statues stare down at you with empty eyes. The house slaves move like ghosts through corridors lined with frescoes depicting gods and heroes you'll never become. Your first job is scrubbing floors until your knees bleed through the rough cloth they give you to wear. The overseer, a scarred man who was once a slave himself, explains the rules with casual brutality. Work without complaint or face the whip. Steal anything and lose a hand. Try to escape and pray the dogs kill you quickly, because crucifixion is worse. The other slaves become your only family in this marble prison. There's Marcus, a former Thracian warrior, whose spirit was broken after watching his wife sold to gladiator trainers. He teaches you which masters to avoid and how to make yourself invisible when their tempers flare. Old Helena, a Greek woman who's been in chains for 30 years, shows you how to stretch meager rations and which herbs can numb the pain when beatings leave you unable to walk, days blur into months of backbreaking labor. Before dawn, you're hauling water from wells, scrubbing wine stains from expensive fabrics, and emptying chamber pots that reek of privilege. Your hands crack and bleed from constant work, while your masters feast on delicacies brought from the far corners of their empire. You watch through doorways as they recline on silk cushions, discussing philosophy and politics while you empty their waste. The worst part isn't the physical pain or the exhaustion that makes your bones ache. It's watching your own reflection disappear. The child who once laughed in olive groves gets replaced by something harder, more careful, designed for survival rather than joy. You learn to read the micro-expressions that predict violence to become invisible when rage needs a target. But here's what they don't expect. Slaves talk. In the markets, in the kitchens, in the dark corners where masters think we can't hear. Information flows through the servant networks like blood through veins. Through veins, we whisper in a dozen languages about which senators beat their wives, which generals are planning coups, and which patricians are drowning in debt from their gambling addictions. Knowledge becomes your only currency when everything else has been stripped away. You learn that Senator Brutus owes money to every moneylender in the forum, that General Cassius keeps love letters from his centurion hidden behind loose stones, that your own master's wife meets her gladiator lover in the wine cellars every third night when the moon is dark. The gladiatorial games arrive like a fever that consumes the entire city. Your master orders you to accompany the family to the Colosseum, carrying cushions and wine while Romans scream for blood. 50,000 voices roar as men fight wild beasts for entertainment. You watch Germanic tribesmen, men who look like your father, get torn apart by lions while the crowd cheers and bets on how long the agony will last. The sand soaks up blood faster than you thought possible. Your master's children clap and laugh while you hold their expensive cloaks, wondering if any of those dying fighters remember running through forests as free children. At 15, your body changes, and with it comes new dangers. Female slaves learn to avoid certain hallways after dark, to keep eyes downcast when young masters drink too much wine, to sleep in groups for protection. The villa's heir apparent, a spoiled boy barely older than you, corners you in the storage rooms with wine on his breath and entitlement in his eyes. You learn that resistance only makes the bruises darker, that screaming only brings more punishment. Some nights you lie awake planning elaborate revenges, but dawn always brings the same shackles and the same powerlessness. Disease sweeps through the slave quarters like divine punishment. Fever claims a dozen lives before the physicians even bother to look at slaves. They're too busy tending to their master's hangnails and imaginary ailments to care about property dying in the stables. You hold hands with dying children who cry for mothers they'll never see again, watching their eyes go empty, while upstairs your masters debate whether to buy new curtains from Egypt or Syria. The bodies get burned in mass graves outside the city walls, unmarked and unmourned except by those who shared their chains. 20 years later, you're no longer that frightened child from the Gallic hillsides. Your back is permanently bent from decades of labour, your hands scarred beyond recognition, and your eyes hold secrets that could topple empires. Some slaves die in chains, others buy their freedom, and a rare few escape to tell their stories. But all of us carry the weight of what Rome really was beneath its marble facades and philosophical speeches. The next time you see a statue of a noble Roman emperor, remember the millions of invisible hands that built his glory. Remember us.